Hey guys, it's Crawford, Life Transformation Coach, and today we are going to talk about trauma bonds. Okay, so trauma bonds are important to talk about because sometimes we're in relationships with people who are bringing us down, keeping us down, won't let us see above water, and we don't even realize it. And although we may love the person, we are really bonded to them more over trauma than we are over love. And that can make it difficult to leave those relationships when it's good for you to go ahead and exit stage left. So, what a trauma bond is when two people experience some type of trauma together, or they have experienced a similar trauma and then they come together and they attach because they had similar experiences, and they may feel like that person is one of the only people in the world that can understand what they feel because they went through that thing too. But also, it happens in abusive relationships where even if both partners could be abusive, one partner could be abusive, and the trauma of that abuse is affecting both partners, and it still makes both people want to stay together as opposed to looking for a healthier alternative or a healthier partner, because the person that is being abused may feel a certain way about themselves because of what the abuser says or does to them, and then the abuser, knowing that it's not a good behavior to hurt the other person, being that they're still connected to the person regardless of hurting them, can make them also feel like, oh wow, this person accepts me, or this person really must love me if I did something like that to them and they still are here. Which can also play out in the victim's eyesight the same way, because sometimes when victims are abused, the abuser will accuse them of something or make it seem like they're the problem and that's why they had to abuse them. And that person that's the victim of abuse may feel like, oh wow, I'm the problem and I'm making this person upset and angry and want to hurt me in this way. So if they're still willing to accept me and still love me, regardless of being the problem, they must really love me. So I'm going to stay in this relationship, because I don't know if I get in another relationship if I'll have the same kind of acceptance from that person, or if I would be allowed to stay with another person doing the same things that I'm doing to this person, if that makes sense. And the same goes for the abuser. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be straight out abuse, it could be toxicity as well. Toxic behaviors, just doing things like cheating or lying all the time, and it could really be a serious betrayal to one party. But if that party accepts the person into their life after something traumatic or the betrayal happens, the person that committed the betrayal may feel like, I could never get away with that with someone else, or they may feel like, oh wow, that person really loves me if they're willing to take me back after I did this horrible thing to them, which was the betrayal. It doesn't have to be physical or emotional abuse or anything like that. So, those kinds of bonds sometimes feel like love. I had to take a second because I definitely had a trauma bond in my life, and that was not not it. And I had left several times, maybe like 17 times. I don't know. I'm not even exaggerating, for real. And I had those thoughts and those feelings myself. Like, I don't know if another person is willing to accept me. Is my behavior causing this person to emotionally abuse me or manipulate me? And if so, will someone else accept my behavior, or will I just cause a breakup with another person? I should just stay with this person, or I should just go back to this person because they accepted me for who I am, even though they really didn't. Because if they did accept me for who I am, then they wouldn't find a need to manipulate me or try to control me or betray me in any way. So, a lot of times when you go through something like trauma, it can look very similar to unconditional love, but it's not unconditional love, it's an insecurity. I think a couple that a lot of people talk about that has said themselves, I believe they said themselves in an interview that they were bonded by trauma, is T.I. and Tiny. I'm not gonna get into it because I don't watch the news like that. I've just been seeing headlines and things of stuff that they're doing, and I don't know what to believe about their situation. But I do know that at least they did. Excuse me. Oh, sorry. They did at least mention that they were trauma bonded, and I did see a portion of an interview that Tiny had with Jada Pinkett Smith on that Red Table Talk show. And she was saying that she didn't have a voice for a long time, and she was just now finding her voice, and that they separated for some time. I'm not sure what the status of their relationship is now, but for all of these years that they've been together, like, I don't know how long they've been together, but it has to have been more than 10, 15 years that they've been together. She really felt like she had to move in accordance with the way he wanted things to move, or she would be blamed for causing issues, and that she really couldn't speak up for herself in a way that she wanted to, in a way that she's finding her voice now. Not sure what caused her to come to that realization, or what caused her to want to be more expressive and own her voice and speak up for herself, which is good for her. But that's just one of the couples that I know have mentioned themselves that they had a trauma bond. And I could definitely see that being like a solid factor that may have kept them together over all the years, even with all of the bullshit, like him cheating and going to jail and all of that kind of stuff. Like, when you're trauma bonded, it can feel like unconditional love, and it's really not. But it's important to be aware of this thing because it can affect you negatively. So if your relationship is affecting you negatively and you believe that you may have a trauma bond, then this is when it's time for you to recognize that that's a problem and seek help. Because not only does it affect you, but it can affect your children. So, if you carry that on thinking that it's just going to be the burden is just going to be put on your shoulders, that's not necessarily true. The burden can be put on your child's shoulders too. So, for example, I'll give you an example. My own parents, have a traditional, like, mother father woman male female role in their relationship, and usually that means that the male is the more of the disciplinarian, and the woman is more of the nurturer. And there were times where I went through some abuse myself, some emotional abuse in my childhood, from the male, and I would wonder why my mother would not speak up for me, or sometimes why she would allow me to be treated the way that I was, undeservingly. And I think a little bit of that definitely comes from the kind of bond that they had, being that they both went through some abuse themselves, in their childhood, in their life prior to them coming together in union, that some of the behaviors of one partner would be considered more acceptable because you don't want to lose the partner, you don't want to speak up, if that makes sense. And that affected me a lot because I had to go through therapy, I had dealt with depression, and then that spilled over into my own relationships with men, and me bonding with them for the wrong reasons and looking for something that looking for the wrong things in the wrong places. And I definitely feel like if my parents could have addressed that themselves, that it would have affected differently how they raised me. And that's why it's so important to be aware of that within yourself if that's something that's happening with you. And this is something that I had to do on my own. When I was in that relationship, I kept leaving because I felt like I don't want to continue on this generational cycle. I don't want my children to see me putting up with things that I don't deserve to put up with, or things that that are disrespectful to me, and then carry that on into their relationships as they grow up because they've seen their mother do that. So when you have trauma bonds and you think it's not that bad, you can handle it, you also have your children to think about. But more so than your children, it's really important that you take care of yourself. And that a lot of times it can be contributing to your depression or your anxiety, and you don't even know that that's a cause to that. So I just thought that we should talk about that topic a little bit today, because there are a lot of us that are dealing with depression and we're in trauma bonds and not realizing that that's the cause of a lot of our sadness and our suppressed emotions, and then it manifests into depression or anxiety, things like that. And the better that we are educated, the more aware that we are, then the easier it is for us to do something about it, and to take action so that we take care of ourselves and we act in our best interests, and that we rise to our best selves. And recognizing what's affecting our lives negatively and doing something about it is how we address being our best selves. So that's all I have for you today. Hopefully you found something valuable in there. And hopefully you take action if this is something that you could relate to and feel like you need to do something about it. I would encourage you to do so. If you would like to work with me, you can email me at Shan, like Jackie Chan, CHAN at beautyofgrowth.com, and I will post the link to a free life coaching session somewhere around this video if you're interested in that as well. All right, well, if I don't see you on my calendar, I'll see you in another video. Bye.